My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. Just looking back at the score, as far as I have it, it's 161 for 6 for Chennai in their 20 overs, because that 102-meter 6 from MS Dhoni doesn't count, because only two-figure sixes are supposed to be counted in this tournament. So you minus those 6 runs, it becomes 161 for 6, and I win the My 11 Circle badge of honor. Thank you very much. However, according to the Cricbuzz site and according to the rest of the world, the official score is 167 for 6. So Joy Bhattacharjya, you can have it, and I'm not playing anymore.
That was a long way to go to tell us that you've lost. That was a very, very long path you took to tell us that. But I'd like to thank the management, MS Dhoni for hitting those sixes, Jadeja for finishing it off.
But yeah, I mean, that 6 was significant, because I remember at the halfway stage on Cricbuzz Combox, we did say you needed a little contribution, little inspiration from the skipper. And no matter that he got out the next ball, at least 102-meter 6 would have given so much joy to so many, Harsha.
You know, we've got so used to MS Dhoni being 48 not out, 72 not out, that you look at that card and say, what did Dhoni do? 21 of 13? 21 of 13 was what the side wanted at that situation. So I think he's actually played it really well. And between him and Jadeja, they've given the side the finish that they wanted towards a score that they should be fairly confident of defending. So if you look the order today, Sam Curran going up put everything else into place, because it allowed Watson and Rayudu to score what, 80 at about 7 and over? 7.5 and over is what they scored at, which is pretty much their style. And I think they ensured in that partnership that Rashid Khan was not such a big factor in the game, which is a big part of their achievement. But also they took it deep enough for Dhoni and Jadeja to finish. I think Dhoni just needed to come out to bat with a very clear head. I suspect there's a few things floating around there. And that 6, yes. I mean, I think that 6 did a little more damage than just lose you an award that you were WhatsApping me about all the time. But I think it did a lot more. It just showed that MS Dhoni can hit that one up there. It was a monster hit. But what about Jadeja? What I liked about him was just those, how he hit 2 boundaries just like that, right?
Those dabs for 4, Harsha, was sensational.
They got what they wanted.
Yeah, I'm glad Harsha spotted that, because I know, you tend to get carried away by the big sixes, and I certainly mentioned that at the top of the show, but you'd have to say that those 2 dabs, so cleverly played behind point, where there were 2 fielders, both times boundaries, Joy, show the kind of asset Jadeja is down the order.
No, absolutely. And that's the class of Jadeja. The fact that he's got finesse and he can swing it as well. He's not just your random hit to cow corner kind of guy. He can do it both, and he can... what you call Jadeja is what I call a microwave player. He heats up very fast. He comes on, doesn't take more than 2-3 balls, and he can start hitting. And microwave players are what you need at 7, 8, 9. Batting at that place. Somebody who can hit run fast. They're not going to score centuries for you. 25, 13, 10, 15 balls, and they've done their jobs.
I'll never look at Jadeja again.
Microwave the same way. Only heats on the surface. It doesn't heat the interior. That's all you want. Just go, do it and come.
Good analogy that is. But the other thing that we talked about at the start was the Watson versus Rashid Khan partnership, and we did say that very often if they do meet, chances are Watson is set. Today he was set, wasn't going at a great rate of knots, but it still showed he kept his wicket intact, hit him for 1 big 6, and it showed Rashid Khan wasn't quite the force if they play him in the right way possible. And I think they played him very cleverly, Harsha.
Look at his figures. How many games does Rashid Khan turn up and deliver 4-0, 30-0? That means Rashid Khan has been taken out of the equation. Also look at the batsman he hasn't got out so far. Ambati Rayudu, Shane Watson. So the matchup from a CSK perspective was just absolutely spot on, in that the 2 batsmen who don't get out to Rashid Khan are the 2 batsmen who are playing him. And they went after him in the last over too. In the last couple of overs, they went after him. So they took Rashid Khan out of the game, and that's how they've got to 167. And I wonder if there's a lesson there for other teams as well. That's how you play. Far too many teams are saying, let's play him 4-0, 20-0, 4-0, 21. Let's not get out. If they played him really well, I think 167 is a good score. So they got that mid-innings stability. They got the fire at the top. They got the fire at the bottom. Or as Joy might say, they got the iron at the top, the microwave at the bottom, and any other appliance you can find in between.
So we've gone from automobile engineering on most days to household appliances today. So iron, microwave oven. We've got to think of a word for Ambati Rayudu because we mentioned it at the start. And something I was impressed with today, I don't know if you gentlemen agree, is his start. You know, Rayudu is the kind of person who may just nudge it around and then start going. Today, he showed his intent from ball one.
I think it's the kettle. I think it's the kettle. Today he was on a simmering flame. Normally he's on an explosive flame. Today he was simmering.
But yeah, he was. I remember he was our My 11 Circle Trump player. He's a good person to choose, and certainly with his contribution, Watson, Dhoni's explosion, you could discount the fact that you had a first bowler from the person who's been their most consistent in Faf du Plessis.
Yeah, I think that's important for them. The fact that they managed to get 167 with Faf getting out. And so they carefully laid plans of that opening stand, it must have got upset out there. But, Curran carried on as if nothing has really happened. And that was also important. Intent up front, somebody hitting. And, if you look at Dhoni's teams, even though they've had old players in the past, they've always had an injection of one young kid who does something and changes something. So if you look at it in 2012, for example, Jadeja was that kid. Sometimes it's not even somebody necessarily very old. Brendan McCullum came them and gave them a spark one year. So they do get these people into their lineups who suddenly give them a little bit extra. And that's what Dhoni it spices up the sort of normal CSK fare. And I think Curran has done it for them. I think you could see this batting order being used quite often because, as Harsha said, it just lengthens the batting order. Curran at 6-7 is lost, can't do anything much. And he's giving some impetus in the top of the order. I think this looks a far better batting order for CSK.
Well, the match is not done until the next 20 overs are bowled and batted, of course. It's going to be unfamiliar territory, as we said from the start. Chennai setting the score, Hyderabad chasing. Now, what about the Hyderabad run chase? They're so used to going out there, Warner Bairstow, that partnership, Manish Pandey to follow, setting a score, then giving it to the bowlers. This time around, Harsha, you've already called it. You feel they've got enough runs on the board at Chennai. How will Hyderabad approach this, led by David Warner?
Well, I'm just looking at what Brad Haddon said. He said he thinks 170 was a good score, and you'd expect someone from Hyderabad with chase to say, look, they're slightly short. That's little gamesmanship, but it's not that different. It's only 3 runs the difference. They can't start the way they've normally started. One of them will have to get going because they can't get into a situation where they're chasing 170 and they're 50-55 after 10 overs. So they'll have to target, I think, about 40 to 45 in the power play, get to about 75, ideally, from their 10, and then target 90 odd in the back 10. And they've got the batting. Williamson's starting to hit at the end too. So they've got the batting in the top 4. They can't lose wickets. My only concern is, do they trust 5, 6, 7? If they trust 5, 6, 7, then 1, 2, 3 can go a little harder. Otherwise, they might just hold on to their wickets, which is what Chennai used to do before. So that's something I'll be very interested in seeing.
Yeah, before we get down the order, let's have a look at David Warner's approach in the tournament so far. Or in fact, we'll go one better and look at his batting strike rates since 2015. And this is something we've noticed. The David Warner, the free-flowing David Warner of 2015 and 16, coming down slightly in 17 and 19. And then it's been a different story in 2020. Really hasn't got going. Maybe today's the day to do a Dhoni for Warner.
No, Gautam, that is the story. That is the story. His lack of faith in his middle order to continue. And if you remember, we did the Boost Stamina Matter. There was Boost Stamina Meter. There was a stat out there which said he's been batting for almost 15 overs every innings. That means not he's
balls.
Been batting, but he's been around for about 90 odd balls every innings. That means 3/4 of his team's chase, he's sitting out there in the middle. And that means he's taken upon the job to anchor it because he doesn't trust that back end. And remember one thing, this is the guy who's won 3 best player awards in terms of highest runs. He's won 3 orange caps by being the player to hit runs. So it's a very, very different approach. Maybe he's got to go back and discover his roots because they need him to be that Warner, the 150 Warner, perhaps not the 120 Warner today.
Yeah, there was the Bulldog Warner, wasn't there? And then the Bulldog Warner became the Reverend Warner. So I think it was the brash young kid in those early years. He's batting a bit like a father of 3 trying to save some money for expenses afterwards. So he's got to be
I think that's a brilliant analogy.
He's got to keep going. At 125, that's not Warner. When Warner comes out to bat, you might say, oops, okay, where's he going to hit us? Whereas Warner's becoming a nudger. In that season that he made 800 odd runs, in all his big seasons, he averages 40 balls per innings. Similar with Virat Kohli. When he got 930, he was averaging 40 balls per innings. So if he's playing 40 balls, he has to make 60, 65 out of those 40 balls. So if we see that Warner will then go on and get a 70, then this game is done. They need one player to go and make a 75 over there.
I'm not going to get the image of Jadeja, the microwave oven, out of my head. And now I'm already seeing Warner's kids going and saying, Daddy, don't get hurt. Just go easy. And David Warner must listen to the little one.
Friends.
We'll call him EMI Warner from now on.
His friends are in the Telugu film industry. They are the ones who send him the dance moves, by the way.
Oh boy, those dance moves. But yeah, when you mention the 70, if it's not a David Warner, Besto's been brilliant. What about Manish Pandey? I mean, he's someone who can do it. Unfortunately, that's 1, 2, and 3, and that's when you start getting into trouble. Okay, Williamson's there as well. It's 5, 6, and 7. That's the question mark. Manish Pandey also big role to play in this run chase, Harsha.
Well, has to be. I mean, he's the big Indian batsman in that middle order. If the track starts to hold a little, it's the job of the Indian batsman to go and score runs. Just as if it's bouncy, then it's a job of the Aussie, the South African, to take on the situation. If it stops and comes a little bit, then it's Manish Pandey's job, it's Williamson's job, but it has to be Vijay Shankar's job as well. Priyam Garg, Vijay Shankar, they've got to bat, because after 6, it just falls off a little bit, just falls off a bit of the cliff. Rashid Khan can come and swing his bat around. So it's got to be even Priyam Garg and Vijay Shankar.
I'll tell you something, Joy. The last time I remember in the CPL and being around those dugouts, I was sort of privy to what was going on. When Rashid Khan had a not so good day with the ball, the first thing he did was put on his pads, go to the captain and say, I'd like to bat higher. And he was sent at number 3. And he's done that more often than not. He just likes to feel involved in the game. So don't be surprised if you see him somewhere floating in this run chase.
No, I think it's possible. It'll all depend. If I think the target goes north, 13, 14, they might just send in a hitter to say, okay, can we get a Jadeja here? Can we get a 25, 13, 10 odd balls, make the run rate look a bit better, and then stabilize it from there on? Because this is going to be, it's an important game for SRH. I mean, Chennai is playing for their tournament, literally, but SRH is also, it's a fairly desperate game for them as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they take this.
Yeah, the other side of that story was when he did come in at number 3, he got a first ball duck to Mujib. But that's a different matter altogether.
I was going to ask you how that story ended, but the build-up was so good, I didn't want the answer to ruin the story.
First ball duck to Mujib, and he was my 11 circle captain. Let's end the story right there.
So that's what you call the Bombay Velvet of decisions.
Who's your captain today, Gautam?
My captain
Let me
today...
look at the scorecard. Hang on. Let me look down the scorecard and guess. Down the scorecard, Gautam's captain, Faf du Plessis.
It has to be.
It's not so bad. Rashid Khan. Rashid Khan captain and Manish Pandey vice captain.
Oh dear.
Okay.
Oh, dear.
So you think Manish Pandey is going to get a duck now? Stop it, Harsha. No. Let's talk about the Chennai bowling. No. You're not allowed to.
Old Hollywood movie called The Wrecking Crew. Joy will know. It's probably his vintage, though he probably was in college at that time. Old Hollywood movie called The Wrecking Crew. I think the 3 of us are the Wrecking Crew. We put the kiss of death on everybody.
But that's what we do when we play a mile 11 circle contest. But quick one before we get in there. Key Chennai bowlers. We know what Deepak Chahar has done up front. We know they've got an embarrassment of riches today. Jadeja, Piyush Chawla, Karan Sharma, 3 spinners. Do you think the key is the spinners, Harsha?
Has to be. Having said that, look down that scorecard again. Rashid 4 overs 30, Shahbaz 4 overs 29. That's 8 overs 59, no wicket. Ball did turn a little bit for Shahbaz, but those 2 didn't control the match as much. Has the track changed that much in 20 overs? We'll have to wait and see, because there's Karan Sharma, there's Piyush Chawla. I still think that new ball, I think Karan will get the ball to swing a little bit at the start. If that new ball can deliver even 1 wicket, then SRH are on the back foot. So spin should be the key, but I don't think we've seen enough to suggest that spin can completely determine the outcome of the game.
So the big question, Joy, to finish is it going to be Karan or Karan? Who will have more impact?
I think it's going to be Deepak Chahar actually. I think the outswinger is something that Bairstow is vulnerable to. Up front, the new ball, they'll say they've got enough runs to bowl what they call a test match length. They expect them to be on length, swing the ball if there is any swing at all to shape it away from the batsman and hope for a tickle. I think Chennai is going to attack with the new ball exactly as Harsha said. I think the new ball is important.
All right, just to finish with another 15 seconds. Which way are you leading, gentlemen? Harsha, you've already said they've got enough runs, so I can tell you're wearing yellow for now.
Yeah, I think Chennai are ahead at this stage.
I think so too.
All right, I somehow have a feeling that with all the names that we've mentioned and my vice captain, we are going to get some runs and we are going to get a successful chase. It's not just that I'm playing
Mani Pandey 86 not out or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Why not? You always want your team to do well. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll look at the halfway mark on Cricbuzz Combox, and then of course a single header for a change to assess at the end. My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. We'll see you soon.